Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I did not put on my lip gloss before I got on. You guys know I need my lips to pop for a live stream. I hope you guys are having a good week. I literally cannot believe that it's almost Thanksgiving and almost the end of November. It is the craziest thing to me ever. Okay, so today we are talking about how marketing is changing and how to make sales anyway, which I think is a super exciting topic because I think that there's this overall feel around this, right? We're kind of all feeling like things are shifting a little bit, but it's sort of like what's happening. And I think what can happen is that we can kind of go into crazy mode trying to figure it out or know what it is. So I just want to have an honest, open conversation about this. So that it's something that's not freaking you out, but makes you feel empowered around. Hey, Jen. Yes, for sure. So I just want to thank all of you guys that left me amazing unicorn gifts on the post where I said, leave me a unicorn if you're going to show up, because that basically made my whole day yesterday. Okay. So let's first talk about how marketing is changing, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more about what to actually do about it. But I think the first and most, not necessarily even most important, but most specific thing that's affecting a lot of this is that people are just so aware they're being marketed to now, right? We're all sharing enough information. We all know the game enough now that we get what's happening with marketing, right? We get when we're getting that email that it's an automated email going to everybody. We get that we're part of your funnel. We know when we're in a funnel. We know when the offer email is coming, or we know when you're launching, all of that kind of stuff, right? So I think that's a really important piece of this conversation of how it's changing, is that we're just more aware. We just get it more. We just know what's up, right? Now, that could be a bad thing, or it doesn't have to be, but it's sort of the first thing that's on the table as far as why is this changing? Well, because we know what's happening now, so we need to be more aware. It's sort of like when you know the commercial is happening and you have your favorite show DVR'd, you're going to fast forward. So what's happening is I know I'm being marketed to, I'm way more likely to tune that out, right? So that's why it feels a little bit different now, is because we're more aware, and so we're more likely to tune that out. Even on your Facebook news feed, we're getting more aware of ads. They don't just feel as much part of our news feed as they used to. We're very quickly identifying something as an ad now, stuff like that, right? Everybody listening, do you agree with that? Do you feel you're just much more aware of stuff that's going on and when you're being marketed to? If you are, drop me a GIF. Or not GIF. I don't think you can do that on here. Maybe you can. I'll take that too. An emoji. Or tell me if you don't feel that's true. Tell me if you're no way, I'm brand new to this world. I don't feel that's true. So that's thing number one, why marketing is changing. Thing number two, I really believe that people are being slightly more cautious with their spending because, yeah, you guys agree. Hey, Holly. Yeah, totally. Hey, Bridget. Okay, so I think people are being more cautious with their spending because there's a lot of stuff going on and around where people are hearing courses don't work, or I spent all this money and didn't get a result. Oh, I love that you guys all agree with this. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Jennifer. It's so true, right? It's so clear when it's happening. So people are being more cautious with their spend because they're hearing a lot of things courses don't work, or I spent all this money and I didn't get a result, or whatever. There's 100 different things around that, right? We've all heard it. We've all seen it. Hallie says, yes, they're being cautious. That's what I'm running into. For sure, because, I think just with any industry, and I want to be really clear about that, this isn't just the coaching industry. There's shit in every industry, right? So, or service-based online industry, whatever. There's always going to be people selling shitty products and people selling great products. And so we've had, I think, recently, a lot of courses that weren't really, people weren't worried about like, is this going to get a result? They were worried about like, what's my launch number going to be? So then we've had a ton of people investing in courses and information that don't net a result. And so it creates this slight mistrust in the industry. I'm going to just use a really funny example because it happened to me today. But you guys know what magnetic eyelashes are? Point being, I bought a couple pairs recently, and like one of them was amazing. I haven't worn them like on a live stream or anything like that yet, but they were so good. And then another pair I bought were like terrible. I mean, it literally looked like a spider was eating my eye, basically. It was just not a good situation. And the point is that of those things to choose from, of the like type of magnetic eyelashes to choose from, there are some that are super shitty and there are some that are really awesome. And that's what's happening here, where like not every course or thing is going to really get people a result, but because of that, they're being more cautious with their money. Just like I'm going to be way more cautious the next time I buy a pair of magnetic lashes that they're the right ones and they're not going to look like a spider eating my eye, right? You almost went for it, but they didn't seem to be well reviewed. Yep. Yeah, you got to be careful. See, perfect example. Hey, Diane. Hey, Mary Jane. Okay, so the point is that we're being more cautious with our spend because there's just more things on the market, which means there are some that are really good and some that are really bad. And we're all hearing different feedback on that, right? Like, we're seeing those posts where somebody's like, I spent $20,000 and da-da-da-da, and we're like, oh my God, I don't want that to be me. So I think we're just talking a lot more openly about that stuff, again, which is changing marketing, right? Hey, Rachel, oh, so happy you're here live. Thank you. Okay, so next reason. Less people want to buy information. So I think that's a huge thing that's changed in our space more and more, is that information is just everywhere now. Like it's like being thrown at you 24/7 every day. It's like drinking out of a fire hose. We're getting all the info all the time, right? So less people want to buy information anymore. So when you do your course about whatever, 5 steps to build a business, like, and you're telling them you're going to learn this and you're going to learn this and you're going to learn this, there's a way where like the info isn't as important as it used to be, right? Because people are so less interested in just consuming and buying more information. You guys, I'm getting like the funniest, like got a mad heart, a crying face, a laughing face. I don't know. I hope that I'm not making you mad or cry, but if I am, maybe this is good info. So people are way less likely to want to buy information now. They want to buy something that is actually going to like condense that information and give them results. I'm going to talk all about what to do about all of this a little bit after, but I just want to like go through the reasons now, right, of like why this is happening. So less likely to want to just buy information because it's everywhere. You could like scroll through this group today and like be inundated with a ton of information about like what to do, right? So the thing is that like they still want to buy value. So we're going to talk about how value and information is actually pretty different, right? And then I think the other piece is we actually want like real relationships, right? So we're less likely to want to hire like the celebrity like person that we're seeing, and we're way more likely to want to hire that person that we feel like is real and that we feel like we have a relationship with, because we feel like they get it and they can apply things to us, instead of feeling like I'm just buying information from this celebritized person that I don't have a real connection or real relationship with. Has anybody felt like that? Let me know what your thoughts are on this. I'd love to hear what you all are thinking. I'm getting, like I said, some funny emojis, so I want to hear like what's true for you around this. Rachel, yes, Wikipedia, exactly. Information is everywhere. Oh, I'm so glad you agree, Mary Jane. So we want to buy from someone that we actually see as like a real human that can help us, instead of somebody that feels like they're not even going to get it, or they're in this different place with us, or like we're never even going to touch them, right? Like we might be able to learn some information from them, but we're never going to be in like real relationship with them, right? So this idea of like, build as big of a following as you can and kind of like be this online celebrity can still work, don't get me wrong, but it's changing because people still want their realness in relationships more than we've ever given them. Debbie says, right, the person who has gotten so big and now works with the masses rather than the individuals. Exactly, it's just a different game, right? Sarah, yes, one time I bought from someone because they were very successful in my industry, but we ended up not clicking personality-wise. For sure, because you probably didn't even know their personality or really have a relationship with them, right? It was just they were sort of like the celebrity in that space. Rebecca, I've always had a big side eye at this. It's hard. I do want to hire people, but I'm freaked out sometimes by the online biz culture. See, I think that's a great point. Like there's a way where like we're getting nervous about, should I invest? How do I trust people? What's going on? And so our marketing has to change with that question that keeps coming up, right? There's been so many, I think, I don't even know what the word I want to use around this is, like frauds, perhaps is maybe the word, or fakes or whatever, I don't know, in this industry. And so not only are we more cautious because we hear people saying, I did all this and I didn't get a result, but also we're hearing people say, like, I paid someone and they didn't even deliver. And so we get so cautious, and then it's so hard to actually know someone online. So if we don't also have that real relationship piece going, it's just really hard to be known and trusted, right? And then on top of that, it feels like a lot of the people that are marketing to us are saying everything's perfect for them, everything's perfect. And so I love that you said that, Rebecca. I'm totally going to steal that. So you want to have this like big side eye at them. Like, so like, are you human? Are you not? But it's also really easy to fall into that trap, right? So then we get into this weird space where we're like, should I buy from them? Should I not? And again, that's why marketing is changing, because we're getting a lot more clear when we're being marketed to. We're asking ourselves more questions because we're learning to be more informed consumers. And so thus, if we're doing that, the people that are buying from us are doing that too, right? Holly says, yes, I call them false prophets. Ooh, I like that. That's a good one. Rachel says, since we work with people on their relationships, mental health, and sex life, but now all online, we definitely build the relationship before anyone considers buying, and luckily we like it that way. So true. I think that's such a good point, Rachel, is like what we're all selling if we're, service-based, or even if we're like maybe selling a product, but it's like we're the ones like supporting you and utilizing that product or whatever, is us, is our relationship with you. But we're usually selling really deep stuff, right? Like, let's look at all your mindset blocks and all your money stuff and your sex life with your spouse, or your mental health, or, how you can like become empowered to like actually run your business, blah, 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 right? Or like, maybe we're like scared to tell someone we're not doing good in our business, whatever it is, the things we're selling absolutely, hands down, require a relationship to be there if we're not just selling info. And even if we're just selling info, why would I buy the info from you if I didn't have a relationship? Because information is everywhere now, right? Like I think Holly said Wikipedia, or maybe that was Mary Jane said Wikipedia. No, Rachel did, sorry. It's Friday afternoon. My brain just stops working at a certain point. But the point is, information is everywhere. Relationships are not. In fact, that's what we're missing most in this space, is we're coming in and we just feel like everybody's like shouting at us and not actually in relationship with us, right? So what happens is we're in a position to change that by changing how our clients feel and how we're marketing to them. So the shouting at people, the giving as much info as humanly possible, the being perfect stuff, it just doesn't work anymore because we're wise to it, we're hip to it, and we've heard so many stories about it that we're really, really cautious about it, or we're giving it the side eye, right? So I think the other thing is too, like you guys know that I teach sales a lot. So like when I teach value-centered sales, I always am like, just reminder, we're selling to other humans, deep, in-depth, service-based things. We're not selling them like a fax machine. So we need to act accordingly. And not only in sales do we need to act accordingly, in our marketing we need to act accordingly, right? Yes, it's all deep and vulnerable work. Totally agree, Rachel. Mary Jane, this is so true. Leading with connection. Yes, is so important. Rebecca says, yes, the challenge is partly when I see so many coaches make money off other people wanting to be coaches, but I have observed and wonder where the lines are between empowering others to genuinely come into their own and profiting off the hopes of unskilled people. Maybe not a nice thing to say, but I wonder about it sometimes and not always sure where I land. Oh, that is such a good conversation, Rachel. So I have this blog that I wrote recently called Why I Hate the Coaching Industry. I'll share it here when we're done. But I actually talk a lot about that in there, about like, what if we are all just coaches coaching coaches to coach coaches, and like, does it feel like that? And sometimes it doesn't feel like an MLM, and like, what's true about that? So I'll share that because I feel like I'm tempted to go down that road, but then I almost like don't want to open myself up because I think I'll end up talking about it for like 25 minutes and I won't be able to get on track. Personal issue, not yours, but I will share the blog. Okay, so let's talk about how to make sales anyway. So basically we know that, let me just like review the points here. Obviously I made notes because I wanted to actually do this really well. People are where they're being marketed to. They're more cautious where they're spending. They want to buy information less. They want even more value in less time. I don't think I talked about that. Let me say a little bit about that. They want more value in less time. And what I mean by that is like, because there's so much noise in the marketing space, like the posts that are like this long, you guys know which ones I mean, like where you have to like click and then it opens a whole nother thing to continue reading. They're just losing our attention faster and faster, right? Because even if they have really good info, our brains are just so overwhelmed with all of the info that we're like, oh, I wish I like had the capacity for that. But I really like the thing where like, it's like this short and gives me like one super amazing nugget of wisdom, right? So, because value isn't always just about information. It's about packaging information in a simplistic way that someone can get a result from. So it's very different than sharing info. Value is like packaging it in a simplistic way that someone can get a result from. So, okay, so that was another thing. We're over all the information being spewed at us. We want real relationships. We want someone we can be in it with for the long term because we're cautious because there's been so many frauds, right? So how do we make money anyway? Sarah says, as a copywriter, I'm sitting here nodding amen. Yeah. So funny. So I think that's probably like one of the hardest parts, I would imagine, is like condensing all this information people are giving to and then like actually making it like understandable and relatable. So in order to like combat these things or deal with them, and I think what I would even say is like not even deal with them. Like personally for me, this excites the shit out of me because this really fits a lot of us that are super service-based and are in this for the right reasons, because it actually like speaks to all the things that I want to do anyway, which is like get people results, deliver people value, have deep relationships, be in it for the long haul, show people what results are really possible for them. So if you're sitting here going, oh my God, I'm so freaked out about marketing changing, I would say because you're on this live stream and because you care and because you're trying to run a service-based business, like this actually might serve you really, really well that it's changing. Green says, gosh, I'm glad you say that about the super long post. To me, it's like the opposite of how we're meant to communicate on social media, short and sweet and to the point. For sure. And I mean, like, listen, I think there's always a place for them somewhere. Certainly I am guilty of writing some occasionally because I feel like, well, it's really worth it at this point. But I also think that like my community knows if I write a really long one that I really have something to say because I don't do it that often. So I think that's a piece of it too, right? Is like when we're doing that every single day, it's really hard for people to keep up with. But like when that's just an occasional thing because it feels that important, it's sort of different, right? Okay, so this is good news for you. I want you to think about that. Like this is not like, oh my God, everything's changing and now I have to change with it. It's like, no, people are like getting back to the basics, real relationships, real talk, real stuff. Like I think the pendulum swings sometimes and we got like so far away from that where it was like all about the fluff and the branding and the pretending and the perfection, and it's come so much back the other way, right? Sarah says, totally agree. Also, stop focusing on yourself. Amen. Instead of what can I say today, flip it to what do these people need to hear? So true. Because like, it's both, right? Like I'm here to help people. So me serving them serves me. I think that's such a good point. Okay, so deliver value. So we just or here's how we're going to make sales anyway. You're going to deliver value. So again, instead of this idea of like info, I need to prove how much I know, what you actually need to prove to your audience is how you can condense what you know into small nuggets that help them make shifts and changes and get results, right? So like I have a master's in mental health counseling. I have an MBA, I've run 2 businesses, like all this stuff. You guys don't want me to like sit in here and type every day, like everything I learned getting my MBA, 1, because most of it's irrelevant, but 2, because that's not the point. That's not why you're here. You're not here to like be in a course and learn all this info from me, right? You're here so that I can condense all the stuff I've learned, all the experience I have into like these small pockets of wisdom that you can go take and get a result with tomorrow, right? Heather says, I actually hate listening to the guy that sounds like the Saturday morning infomercial. For sure, because it's like, you're not even a real human. Where are the real humans on social media, right? And then the problem with that is the pendulum swings too far the other way. So now it becomes like the next marketing ploy to be real. And so all these posts are like vulnerable post ahead. And it's like cool, but like, just tell us what you want to tell us. Just be real. Just be you no matter what. Like, you don't have to warn us. You know what I mean? Becomes like a marketing tool instead of like just realness and truth. So deliver value, make it digestible, make it easy for them. Everybody is so fucking overwhelmed with all the info that if you're the one person that gives them one tip that gets them a thing, they're going to want to pay you again, hands down, I promise, right? Be you, but don't be you for a marketing ploy, right? Like you don't need to like rip your heart open and like bleed onto a piece of paper and say, look how real and vulnerable I am to get clients, but you do have to be real and honest. So like if your people know you're a human, they will appreciate that. If they see you trying to be a human for marketing purposes, they will know that too, right? Mary Jane says, love that mastery is being able to break it down and make it fun and easy to understand. So perfectly said. Exactly. So be you. It's really cheesy. It's so cliche. I'm sure you've heard it 100 times, but the point I'm trying to make here is like, be you because that's just easy, not because it's the newest marketing tactic you've heard. Like we're kind of doing like the unmarketing marketing stuff here, right? Is like, so for me, like when I'm like walking around on a daily basis, I'm not like vulnerably sharing with every person I see in the grocery store. So like, I'm not doing that here, but when it feels right and feels like the right lesson in the right space, I'm going to do that. So I think that's what's really important is like, you don't have to use vulnerability as the marketing tactic where like, now you got to share like every trial and tribulation you've ever been for. You just got to decide where and when that feels good and then do that, right? The other thing I would say is like, I said this to a client the other day and I thought it was clever. If I do say so myself, know what game you're playing. So what I mean by that is like, you are not playing the short-term game of, you know, how do I put out 3 posts this week and get a client tomorrow? And I get it. Like sometimes you just want to get a client tomorrow, but know the game you're playing is the long-term game of building a relationship. It's sort of just like when you start dating someone, even if you want to get married, you're not like, how do I convert this as quickly as possible? You know you're in it for the long-term game and the long-term result, right? So I want you to think about that in your business too. Like if people are less likely to just want info, if they want to know that you're a real person, if they want to make sure you're not a fraud, if they want to have a relationship with you, that might take a little time. So that's the other way it's changing is that you may be playing a longer game here, right? Like we may be dropping some of these like make 500K in 50 minutes kind of bullshit, but you're playing the long-term game and then you're gonna have a long-term sustainable business and that's what matters, right? Rita, hey Rita, I'm so happy you're joining us from Barbados. It's all about relationships. You know I believe that. Hey, man. We are always so on the same page with that. And I freaking love how you talk about that. If you guys haven't joined Rita in her Facebook group, she did an amazing live stream on the difference between, Rita, oh my God, I swear it's just because it's Friday, but like, what are the words you use? Basically, it was the difference between having a following and having a community, but correct me if I'm saying those 2 words wrong. But anyway, you should post the link for that or the link to your group where they could watch that because I can't even get into all that here because again, I'll go off on a tangent for 100 years, but you're so good at explaining that. Okay, Audience versus community. Oh, I said it right. Yes. Okay, so know what game you're playing and be willing to play the long-term game, because when I say long-term, you guys, I don't even mean it's going to take that long, right? Like, it might be like 60 to 90 days. You know what I mean? It's not like we're saying like, you must like, bleed your heart out and build a relationship for years and years and your business is never going to take off. It's just like, you're not playing the I post today, I get a client tomorrow kind of game with yourself. You're saying like, I get what this is about and I'm willing to like go all in and like be real. Okay, so here's the other way. Be your own best case study. So, oh good, Rita just posted it, awesome. So be your own best case study in this. And I don't mean in the way of like show everyone how awesome you're doing, but I think that, again, like the pendulum always swings. So it's gotten so, like, we got so sick of the, like, I made 100K in 10 minutes, but then also, like, some people are now, like, really holding back from actually sharing their own results. But here's what's different about how we have to market them now, is when you're sharing your own results, I want it to be because you're talking about congruently living and showing us that you're congruently living whatever results you're getting. So, like, for me, bragging about my results isn't the thing. It's showing you how I use mindset, strategy, and execution in everything I do. I sell in a value-centered way, which is like what value-centered sales is about. Like, I'm congruently living into my business everything that I'm teaching. Like, if you read a post in this group where I'm giving value or suggesting a strategy, I fucking guarantee you that you're gonna see me implementing that strategy in some way, shape, or form. So when I say be your own best case study, don't be afraid to share your results, but be congruent with what you're saying. Show up and do that. Like, don't tell people, to do this thing and then we don't see you doing it, or don't tell people you made 100K in 10 minutes from this one thing and not be real about what actually happened on the back end. Congruence is key there. We still want you to share your results and be your own best case study, but what we really want is to know you're congruent and you're working what you're selling, right? Sarah says, dang, this is why I need to work with you. Oh, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for being real, knowledgeable, and client focused. Absolutely. That is so sweet of you. Thank you for saying that. Rita says, yes, I'm building a business because I want in on it long term, and you are helping me dig into myself as a case study. I love taking the time to look internally. You are such a good case study. And you're really congruent, and that's why it matters, right? Because there's nothing you're telling your audience to do that you're not doing and that's not getting you results. And I think that's such a killer here, is that so many people are spewing all this stuff. Like, you have to show up in this way every day. And then you're like, but I don't even see you doing that. You know what I mean? When I worked in the nonprofit, I had a really big team. And I would always tell them, like, I'm not going to ask you to do something I'm not also willing to do. So, like, if we have a new process to implement, like, I'll come sit with you and do it first and like do it myself and make sure it works. And I think that's what good coaching and mentorship is about. It doesn't mean we have to be on the exact same path, but if I'm telling you that I believe in these topics, you need to see me living them, right? So that's another super important thing of this marketing piece changing, is that we can't just do this like copy and paste bullshit where we just like copy someone else's funnel, put it in a thing and assume that it'll make us sales. We have to be like so us, so real, so congruent, and so willing to build the relationship. Then on the other end of that is like, share your clients' results more, right? Like, we've all seen the person sharing their results and then maybe sharing one or two client results and then like no others. You know what I mean? We're like, well, cool, it worked for you and that one person, but like, what about all the other people you're working with? And I'm not saying, and I do not believe that we should be able to get 100% of our clients, 100% of results, 100% of the time. Like, if any of you know how to do that, congratulations, you're about to be a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just not life. It's just not real. But we have to be consistently having happy clients and showing that as congruently as we're showing our own results. So that's another way that marketing is changing, is that it's no longer about like the one unicorn client that everybody's plastering everywhere. It's about like, are you consistently having results? Just like, are you consistently and congruently showing up around what you believe? Bye, Rita. Have so much fun in Barbados. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, so there are a lot of other things that I sort of think are important here, but I'm going to share one more, and then I'm going to tell you something about another free training I'm going to do. So the last one is like, know what platform works for you and stop trying to do all of them. So when we say like marketing is changing, people want more relationships, you know, they want more you, blah, blah, blah. What I think can be really difficult is then we're trying to plaster that on like 10 different platforms. Like I need to be on Snapchat and Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and this and that. And so we're never really getting to build real relationships anywhere because we're trying to be everywhere. So the point is there's no one right platform at this point, although I guess there could be depending on who your target market is. But like as a whole, there's not like one, like if you're on Snapchat, you'll always get clients. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, certainly it matters where your target is, and that's what you should figure out, and that's what you should choose on. But instead of trying to do all the strategies and do all the marketing, because that used to be the thing, right? Just like bombard people and get everywhere. That's not the game anymore. It's like do one thing and do it well and be patient with it and build it and grow it and see that come to fruition before you're expanding to these other places, right? Kathy says consistency, right? Because that is how you achieve consistency for sure. So instead of like you just like showing up and spewing at people on like 10 platforms, you're like showing up and like diving in and actually building a relationship and going deep with them and, you know, creating that even energy exchange on just one. So I would say like those are not like all encompassing, but that's definitely how marketing is changing and how you can make sales anyways. Like if you do those things, like it will serve you so well. And for most of us, this is a really good thing. Like the pendulum is starting to fall more in the middle. Like we can't do everybody's like copy and paste, like I'm amazing bullshit. And we can't like do the whole thing of like, and now I have to like lay my heart out on the table 24/7 all day, every day, if that's not what I'm about. We get to like fall in that middle ground. We get to be us. We get to be real with our marketing. We get to just serve people. You know, we get to focus on one platform. We get to actually give value. We don't have to write, you know, 3,000 word blog post every day. Like that is really, really shifting. So with that being said, I have so much more to say about this. And I also have a friend, her name is Megan Maydell, who, well, she just always has a lot to say anyway. I wonder if she's watching. She's going to be like, really? She just always has a lot to say. But she is like a marketing guru. She runs a marketing agency. And we've been talking about this a lot lately. And it's so funny because I was saying to her how I said that thing about like, what game are you playing? And she was like, oh my God, I just told someone to play the long-term game. And so we had this whole conversation about it. And we're like, why don't we do a live stream to add on to this one? So this was more like, how is this happening and how can you do certain tweaks anyway? And then we're going to get into like a lot more specifics on our live stream together. So we're doing one on Monday. We're doing it here at 4 p.m. Eastern. We're calling it Marketing, Sales, and Money, what you need to do now to get big results. So she's going to share some of her take on why marketing is changing. I'm sure she's going to watch this and tell me what she thinks I was right and wrong about. No, I'm kidding. And then we're going to go into it. Like we're definitely both on the same page with this and how much it's changing, but how much it's actually serving those of us that like want to do this work and want to do it in a way that feels good. So we would love for you to join us Monday. We're not even selling anything. We just really like this conversation. We probably should be selling something, but we just really love this conversation. We want to keep having it. And instead of just having it with each other all the time, we figured we might as well have it with all of y'all. So if you know what questions you have around this, or if like I said a couple things today that didn't totally answer your questions or whatever, feel free to pop them in the chat here, because then Megan and I will answer them on Monday. So if you have questions about marketing, how it's changing, what you can be doing, how to actually make money in sales from it, let us know. We'll totally address it. And then I hope to see you guys on Monday. If not, I'll obviously post the replay in the group, but I will be here at 4 p.m. and I hope you guys will be too. So thank you so much for joining me. I loved this conversation. I loved you guys participating with me, and I can't wait to see you again on Monday. Have a good weekend, y'all. Bye.